We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Wednesday. We're moving through the week. It's been a busy one. Donald Trump's trial is in session. Monday went kind of like we expected. Donald Trump pretty much embarrassed himself, fell asleep, but there were no jurors sat in that particular hearing or that session. Now, Tuesday was a different deal. Donald Trump fell asleep again, of course, and he said some stupid shit, and the judge spanked his diapered bottom. But they sat seven jurors, which is interesting because some people, including me, thought this might take a couple of weeks to get done. They have to seat 18 people. As Eric told us yesterday, that's 12 jurors and six alternates. Well, they've already got seven in just one day on Tuesday. Now, there is no court today in this particular trial. It'll be Thursday and Friday, but not on Wednesday. Don't ask me why. It's a court thing. It's a judge thing. I don't know. But anyway, it's conceivable we could get all 18 jurors by Friday and start trial by Monday. It's got to be working against Donald Trump because he likes to delay things. He likes to take his time. He was probably hoping for 2 weeks and create some chaos and delays, but so far it's been moving along. That's not to say there weren't some bullshit going on during the trial today or yesterday, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. We got a ton of emails to get to, so let's get to that as quickly as we can because it's going to take a little time to get through the emails, and I'm committed to answering all the I'm just if you hear me delaying here, it's because I've got a different setup than I normally have at home, and I'm kind of reminding myself of things I need to do. It's a little different deal. I've got some notes and things like that I have to deal with. When Eric was here, we just talked. Now I got to fucking handle the whole thing, and that makes it more complex. Anyway, just bear with me here. All right, the first email says, since you get state-specific perspectives from guests on the show, I thought I'd give you a report from Virginia. It's a state that can go either way, but the trend feels blue. We're basically the northern DC suburbs, the Norfolk Tidewater region, a diverse and hip Richmond, of course, Charlottesville, and then everything else. Central Virginia is deep red, and Southwest Virginia is the fucking twilight zone. The fleece-vested dickhead Youngkin, the governor, rode in walking a fine line on Trump and riding the CRT issue as if this fucking guy had ever thought once in his life about school curricula. Of course, now we don't hear a peep about that anymore. Now, you don't hear them talking about it. They get hot and heavy on specific topics. They run that into the ground until they prove they're wrong or they don't know what they're talking about. Then they just move on to something else. That's Trumplefux for you. Anyway, goes on to say, I think the Repubs saw him as a possible national player until the 2022 elections, where Dems expanded their Senate majority and his endorsed candidates performed poorly as they did again in 2023. Now he's resorted back to being entitled, ventured capitalist, spoiled brat that he is, and has vetoed bipartisan legislation on climate, minimum wages, gun safety, drug prices, work protections, and abortion. Rat bastard even stymied retail weed sales, which the voters approved 3 years ago. Yeah. They thought he was going to be a superstar, but there are no superstars in the Republican Party. There's just a bunch of dumb fucks. At this point, he's at war with the legislative branch, and as a result, they fucked him hard on his efforts to have taxpayers fund a pro basketball and ice hockey team. Nobody here in the state takes him seriously. He's like a big, tall fleece vest wearing nothing. And may I add, fuck him. I would have high confidence in Virginia delivering for Joe Biden in November. Best garage door Jeff. And of course, Jeff always has the PSs. I'm originally from Pennsylvania and know it well. In my opinion, it's weirdly more hillbilly than Virginia. Pennsylvania is a crazy motherfucker, but I think it's rolling towards blue as well. Same with North Carolina. They're just a little more Southern Christian than Virginia, but it is turning. Thank you, Jeff. Great to hear your insights. It's always interesting, informative, and oftentimes entertaining when we hear from you. Now, I've gotten a lot of requests, Jeff, and I think it's been bounced off you before, but a lot of people like your emails and they want you to come on the show live. I don't know if you're worried about exposing the mystique, but if you ever felt so compelled to come on the show and be a guest and participate with your face and your mouth, we'd love to hear from you. All right. Hey, Mike, if Trump is convicted, does that immediately disqualify him from running for president? No, it does not. Don't ask me why. It's stupid. I guess people never thought it would ever actually happen, so they never mentioned it or made any decisions about it. But no, he can still run for president if he's convicted. Is he going to be able to go out before the press during breaks and lunch to spew his bullshit like last time? Or does he have to keep his mouth shut? Wish there were cameras. Love the podcast and TikToks. Listen and watch every day. Becky. Well, I think he can. Um, and he kind of has already. In fact, yesterday he was doing some things that pissed off Juan Marchand, the judge, and he got spanked a bit. Thankfully, he wears a diaper that's full of shit, so he had a little cushion there when he was getting spanked. We'll talk more about that later. Will Donald Trump be able to talk still? Yeah, but he's getting some pushback from the judge. So it'll be interesting if he learns any lessons and if he slows it up or stops altogether. I'm betting he won't, but who the fuck knows? All right, next up. Hi, Mike. I have an important message for all Republicans out there. With the opening of the very first criminal case for an ex president of the United States, real Republicans should understand that this is the ultimate, yet again, fake news, hoax, and a witch hunt. Um, True Republicans know that not one single declared Democrat person in the country has ever been indicted for anything ever since Joe Biden was falsely elected president. The entire American judicial system, all the way down to the municipal courts, has a favorable Democratic bias. Such great people as Steve Bannon, George Santos, Rudy Giuliani, Alan Weisselberg, Alex Jones, Sidney Paul, even Fox News, to name a few, are all poor victims of a rigged judicial system. Panzer. Now, before you get excited about this, Panzer frequently offers his daily dose of sarcasm, and it's much appreciated. He's making fun of Trumplafucks, and frankly, I'm all in. Anytime you want to make fun of Trumplafucks, I'm on board. Thanks, Panzer. All right, the next one says, I saw the answer to the question about felons on the ballot. I'll remind folks, I said I heard something that suggested there are some states that cannot put a convicted felon on the ballot. So we were presuming the possibility that maybe Donald Trump would be excluded from those ballots, but I wasn't sure it was real. I could find nothing that supported that. I saw it on TikTok, and just because it's on TikTok doesn't mean it's true. I was hoping against hope. There were a lot of red states, but there was Florida and Arizona too, which struck me as interesting because if Donald Trump couldn't be on the ballot in Florida and Arizona, he's fucking done without even starting the election. Anyway, the email goes on. Apparently, somebody did the research that I couldn't. It was unfortunately on Quora rather than a government site, but it makes sense. What I read said that no state can keep a felon from running for federal office because the qualifications of those offices are laid out in the Constitution. That is a place to start finding facts. By the way, the list of states you read include Texas. If it is true, Texas and Florida, no way he can win anything. I hope when TFG is convicted, he does go to jail. I know there are many who say that house arrest is okay with them. It is not okay with me. If this nation is going to get any sort of healing or reconciliation, he needs to be shut up in jail. He won't have a phone or the internet. That will cut off the head of the snake. We need that blessed silence for the people in the cult before the people in the cult start waking up. It won't be quick and it will happen in dribs and drabs, but we have to give these people a fighting chance to come back to reality. I was very pleased to hear one of your guests say more or less the same thing. I think he was the man from Iowa, Eric. Sorry, I don't remember. Yeah, it was Eric. Keep up the good work. Keep helping all of us stay positive and what's in store for us in November. Grandma Patty. P.S. I'm seeing media coverage that says Biden is ahead and they are all critical of TFG. The pivot is happening. Good call. Yeah, there is a pivot happening. There is a shift in the paradigm, if you will. Um, and again, I think it's happened much faster than people really understand. Like I said, the polls say one thing, it's looking a little better for Biden, but I still have a problem with the polls if we look at fundraising and Joe Biden is ahead by double over Donald Trump. I mean, logic would tell you if they were both equally supported, they would both fundraise the same amount. So the fact that Joe Biden is out fundraising Donald Trump by 100%, that just doesn't square with the polls. It doesn't make any sense. Thank you, Grandma Patty. I appreciate the email. All right, the next one says, Mike, I was thinking the other day just how stupid Diaper Don really is. Just now, you're just thinking about, I'm kidding. He is trying to claim presidential immunity in the Supreme Court. This just shows how really stupid he really is, because if he's claiming presidential immunity for what happened with January 6th and the documents case, that would mean that what he claims Biden is doing with the DOJ and law enforcement in going after his political opponent, aka Trump, would technically make Biden immune to any criminal court trial if Trump were to be reelected. Yeah, it absolutely means that. But you know, that Trumplafucks, including Donald Trump, don't look beyond the end of their nose. All the shit they pulled, the Republicans, like ramrodding, um, ramrodding Merrick Garland and some of the other stuff, they don't realize that once they do that and set the precedents, the Democrats can do it back to them, and there's nothing much they can do about it if they aren't pussies about it. Now, see, that's the problem. Maybe now it's starting to change, but you remember what they did with Merrick Garland. Oh, it's too close to the election. We can't let him in, and they shut it down. But what happened when Amy Comey Barry came in a shorter period of time before the election? The Republicans went against exactly what they said, and they rammed her down our throats. I don't know what the Democrats could have done in that situation, but at least fucking try. Don't, at this point, you don't want to be the bigger people. You sometimes have to match the energy that they're putting out there in order for them to understand. Like I've said before, some people want to turn the other cheek, but sometimes when you're dealing with bullies, they're not too bright. They don't understand anything. The only thing they get is getting slapped in the mouth, because that's how they do things. And the only way you can get respect from them is to return the favor. Anyway, the email goes on. It makes no sense. The guy's an idiot. Besides, didn't he just do what he is accusing Biden of when he tried to get President Zelensky to get dirt on Biden's son Hunter, who at the time was his political opponent? Yeah, exactly. He did that. But you have to understand, Donald Trump thinks he's special. Donald Trump literally thinks the world revolves around him, and he thinks that he gets special treatment, and anything he says is absolute gospel. So everybody else should be forced to comply. But he's special. He's direct from Jesus, so he gets to do anything. That's how sick mentally this fuck is. He really, really believes that. Email goes on to say, we know that Biden has way more class and smarts to have to turn to such tactics. As we all know, Diarrhea Don will just shit his diapers all on his own. This is true. P.S. Have you checked out the buffoon's Gettysburg speech in Pennsylvania? I attached a link in the case if you haven't seen it. Oh, yeah, I saw it. I saw it. And it's a fucking joke, just like everything that Donald Trump says and does. It's absolutely embarrassing. To me, I can't even believe the Republicans don't flinch every time he opens his mouth because he makes them look stupid. He makes them look culpable in so many crimes, but they just sit there and take it and they'll be his buddy forever. All right, the next one. Hi, Boomer. Look, I got to be honest, Boom. I would absolutely fall asleep in a courtroom. Once I woke up sleeping on a guy's shoulder next to me on a national car rental airport bus. I didn't know him, but he turned out to be a nice guy. I got to be honest, too. When I'm in a car with my wife and we're just driving around town or whatever, she drives, mainly because she's a control freak. I love her, and if that's what she needs to do, that's fine. Fact is, I don't mind not driving. But anyway, when I'm in a car and I'm not driving, I can fall asleep in a second. That has a lot to do with my age, and I get it too. If I was in a courtroom for 8 hours a day for the next 2.5 months, I might fall asleep too. The only difference between me and you and Donald Trump is that this was the first day, the first day of a 2 month court case. And then you load on top of that that Donald Trump is continually lying about Joe Biden, saying he's sleepy. So there lies the difference. He goes on to say, but that ain't my problem. It's that fuck Trump's problem every day for the next 2 months. They're going to juice him up with something to keep him awake, which will make him crazy. Or, one of these times he's going to roll out of that chair onto the floor. That's practically inevitable. Either way, this is going to be a riot. I concur. Sorry for 2 emails in one day. Best garage door, Jeff. Don't worry about 2 emails in one day. I'm fine with it. You can send me as many fucking emails as you want. Uh, if they're 9 pages long, I may not read all of them, but you're more than welcome to send your emails. Don't apologize for sending me two. A lot of people send me two in the same day. You start thinking about something, you write the email, and then something else comes to mind. I like it. All right. Hey, Mike, longtime listener, first time writer here. I'm not quite a boomer, born at the end of 81, but I am a huge fan and thank you for all you do. Happy birthday. Cheers galore. Yesterday was my birthday, April 16th. I turned 64 years old. Wow. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that I'd be 64 years old. I didn't think I was going to die young, and I don't think I will die young. It's just, people, my family will come up to me because of my age and they'll worry about me. Oh, you okay? "Yeah, okay, I'm fine." I just have this sense if I was going to die, that I would know about it well in advance. I'd get a feeling in my body that I was going to die. So I don't worry about it too much. And people say, how can you not worry about dying? And I said, well, hundreds of millions of people have died before me. How fucking hard can it be? Anyway, yesterday was my birthday. My wife is younger than me by about 5 weeks. Her birthday is next month. So we'll be celebrating that. And before that, my granddaughter Junie has a birthday on April 26th. We talked to her on FaceTime yesterday. Love that kid. She's such a goofball. Anyway, so thank you for all the well wishes and the happy birthdays. I got a lot of them. And I appreciate it immensely. I'm not big on birthdays at my age. I'm more excited about my granddaughter, even my wife, but I appreciate acknowledging and the well wishers. Back to the email. I know you have said that you know what it's like to deal with a narcissist from your father, but boy, do I as well. My father-in-law was certainly a narcissist and a master manipulator. I'm not going to cover the entire story, but he was an extremely talented musician and also very likable. Between 2005 through 2010, I was, in a sense, his roadie and went to nearly every gig with him. He played at mostly small clubs, bars, and people would hear him and be amazed he didn't have a bigger record deal. He would tell multiple people that he could be the sole investor in his music project. But in 2010, his health took a crazy nosedive. He technically coded and died 6 times, but pretty miraculously made it through. It was during this time we found out that he was not only living a double life, but he was also being investigated for fraud. It was not long after that that he got out of the hospital for a second time and he took a plea deal and was sent to prison. He got 6 years in prison plus 6 years of probation. But through it all, he would never accept any of the blame and seemed to believe that he did nothing wrong. When he got out of prison, he was in a wheelchair, but actually got back to playing gigs again. I very reluctantly helped him set up at some of the gigs again. At first, he was pretty bad and couldn't remember the words to most songs, but I do give him credit for getting back to performing and sounding decent, albeit from a wheelchair. I bet, though, that he was trying to get people to invest in the project again. If he would have been honest, I don't think he would have had any doubt that he could have been extraordinarily successful. He actually won a contest in the 80s that did lead to opening several shows for some big name country acts such as George Strait, Willie Nelson, George Jones, Reba, and Toby Keith. What you have said about narcissists all ending up the same is very true. My father-in-law, Jim, died for the last time a few months ago. Most of his friends and family had abandoned him by that point. I did paste a link to one of his original songs if you'd like to check it out. I have a lot of mixed feelings about him, but still like his music, hoping that the piece of shit Trump hits rock bottom. And and it's signed Kelk You Later. He's a math guy, I guess. His name is Nick. Thank you, Nick. That's an interesting story and also common. Like I've said with narcissists, they always spiral out of control, crash and burn. It's always the same way. So sorry to hear about your father-in-law, but it would have been nice if he would have been able to supply some apologies to the people he wronged during his lifetime. All right, next email. Hi, Mike. I hope that you had a splendid and sublime birthday. I did. It was just my wife and I. We went to Tybee Island. We had dinner. It was a nice time. I have to tell you, I feel a little bit jealous that you're in Savannah, Georgia right now. That sounds like a great place and it's on my bucket list. Absolutely. If you get a chance to come here, by all means, do so. I listen to your podcast right as it's released, which is around midnight every night, and I listen to it on my earbuds while I'm working night shift at the hospital. Now that we have reached the mountain in getting Trump actually in front of a judge in a trial for a criminal case, fills my heart with joy. I totally disagree that they have a microphone set up for this motherfucker to make comments anytime he feels like it during breaks. I understand because it's not televised that we're thirsty for any information coming out of that courtroom. I need to know where I can get the latest and most up-to-date information on a daily basis. Or what's going on in that room. Is there any certain program that you know that I should listen to? I usually watch MSNBC, and I know they won't really be getting too much in depth until the 18-person jury is set. Patience. I'm just happy that he's finally facing what he should have been facing decades ago. Rhonda. Honestly, I don't know of any particular source that gives you all the information up to the minute. It does come out. You can check AP and you can check MSNBC and you can check Huffington Post and Raw Story, those sorts of things. Those are the kinds of things I check to get the information or what the story is. And then I dig a little deeper to see if it all is corroborated. Thank you, Rhonda. I appreciate it. All right. Here's somebody we haven't heard from for a while, and you remember her because she's been on the show. Hey, fellow April baby, birthday baby. My birthday is the 24th. I think you're in Georgia, but I'm ready to come on again. I want to so many times, but hot damn, every day is something new and crazy. I didn't know where we could start, LOL. Anyway, you're the best. Hope to hear from you soon. I hope you're celebrating properly. Yeah, I'm celebrating as well as any 64-year-old man can, which means slow and easy and keeping calm. And it's signed Christy. You remember Christy? She was on the show a while back. She was a great show. Yeah, we want you back, Christy. So do the listeners. So anytime you want. Um, I am in Georgia, but I can still have a guest, obviously, because I had Eric yesterday. Or we can do something when I get back. I'll be doing a show on Wednesday from Georgia, Wednesday night, tonight, or Thursday. And then I'll get back Thursday afternoon, and then I'll be able to do a show from my home base um, Thursday night for Friday. So if you want to be on then, that's fine. We're always happy to have you or any of the other listeners on. So, Christy, get back to me. Send me an email. Tell me what's good for you and what times are good for you, and then we'll set it up and get down to it. I know the folks would be anxious to hear from you. All right. Next one. Hi, Mike. Isn't it interesting how we get personal scenarios by the media? Now we're talking about Swedish state media, as I have a feeling that she has to create buzz to legalize her own cost, tax money, to report lucky, how lucky you should feel that I'm here on the site because, oh my God, how hysterical this is getting. Trump's resistance movement has gathered outside the courthouse, and this will not be easy for the jury and the judge. It will take some time to find a jury. I think I think this emailer is talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, but this is one of our international listeners. Then I listened to MTN and several other media, and the picture is so totally different. Maybe 50 people active for a while, then fell asleep like their orange holy man. First day, he dropped his jaw and fell asleep. I wonder if he drools. Oh, of course he drools. Going to be a long 6 to 8 weeks. It will not take more time than usual. Judges set a pace to this trial that is enough about delaying. I will not be surprised if this trial is done in 6 weeks. He'll gather an orange jumpsuit and will not see the light of day until 2028 after the next election time is over for him. Then he's 85 or already 6 feet under. Have a great week. Regards, Krister. And Krister, I believe, is from Sweden. Thank you, Krister. I appreciate it immensely. All right, next one comes from Gussie, who we hear from frequently. Hi, Mike. I'm thinking the sleepy Don of shit kept falling asleep because they had to give his ass a super sedation cocktail to get him to sit still and shut up. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by that. They need to drug test him every day. That way we won't get robbed of seeing the real Don of shit show. Gussie. Yeah, I don't, they got to be giving him fucking something. He can't sit still that long. I think he's got ADD, and one of the reasons he takes Adderall. All right, the next email says, Hi, my name is Galen. I am the director at Blue Dot Sessions. We're an acoustic studio based in Western Massachusetts. We composed and recorded music, especially for the podcast and audio world, and host a library of 10,000 original tracks. Okay, I've been getting this a lot. I've got a few people coming to me trying to sell me on the idea of hooking up with a musician or a company like Galen's here for music to add to the podcast. Now I'm familiar with these kinds of folks because I used to own a studio and we had music libraries for doing commercials and all that stuff. And the thing about it is, Galen, and I wonder if Galen's even listening. I'm thinking he probably isn't. Um, but the point of what I'm doing with TikTok and the podcast, I have the background to do a lot of production and get real in depth in it with music and all that stuff. I could do that because I have a background in it. I just choose not to. It was my goal to do this with as little effort. That sounds bad. With as little effort as necessary. I used to joke when I was in business, and they say, "What's your credo for business?" And I always said, "Make as much money as I could with as little effort as necessary." And people laughed at me about that, but I was really being serious. And that should be the essence of what any of us do. I mean, we want to make money, but the more work we put on it in it is the less money we get in return. I don't know that I'm going to get into any mass production with the podcast or the TikToks, because here's the deal. We have a lot of changing news. It happens really quickly. And I want to be able to get on and talk about that news as quickly as possible. That's what's most important, not my production. I don't think anybody is listening to the podcast or watching my TikToks because I have great production, because I don't purposely. I don't want to do that. I don't want to make it any more complicated than it needs to be. So, yeah, we're not going to add music to it. It's just too time consuming, and it kind of negates the whole point of doing it, having some kind of uh, quickness to getting the information out. But Galen, I appreciate it. I wish you the best of luck. But I don't think I'm going to start getting into heavy production with regards to the podcast. It is what it is. You either like it and you don't, or you don't. And that's all I'm willing to do. It's about the information, it's not about the production value. All right. We are going to take a quick break and we will be right back. All right. We have a couple of more emails to read. Next one says, "Happy birthday, Mike. Hope you have a great day. Over the road, Russell." I did. Thank you very much, Russell. All right, next one comes from Alan. "When a politician makes an allegation that can have a significant impact on listeners, the politician should be held to the heinous hyperbole statute." I invented this title. He did. "For example, the last election was stolen. The author of the comment should be asked, do you simply believe it was stolen or do you know it was stolen? If the answer is, I know it was stolen, then the author should be asked to swear on it, on the Constitution of the United States, to tell the truth." Alan, I don't disagree with you, Alan. That's one of my biggest complaints about the media. They They never push back on anybody. People made ridiculous claims that were obviously lies, but the media never pushed back and made them prove it or held their feet to the fire. They just let them say it because they knew it would create chaos and dissension and uncertainty. And that's what they wanted to create because it makes people nervous. And then they want to consume more of what that media outlet is doling out. I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. All right. Last email comes from Gordon. He says, "Hi, Mike. I had a Trumplefuck attack two of my friends today on Facebook. I thought you would enjoy my response. Tony Katana, I've been watching this thread, and I must say, you truly seem like an intelligent, articulate gentleman who is well versed on this topic." Tony's obviously the Trumplefuck. "Kudos to you for not cursing, being sarcastic, or nasty. The question that I have for you is, How was the Kool-Aid? Google your savior and check out his bankrupt casinos, how he owes thousands of hardworking, dedicated employees and contract workers tons of money. Gordon. Well, thank you, Gordon. I appreciate that. And the thing about it is, Gordon, no matter how you respond to these people, they don't listen to truth. They can't comprehend it. They won't accept it. It's always nice to have a sharp comeback for these fucks, but I think it's wasted on them because they don't get it or they refuse to get it. I'm not sure what it is. Trust me, I have tried many times on this show, on TikTok, and it never gets through their thick fucking red skulls. I don't know why. Could be that they're cult members, could be that they're stupid, or could be a combination thereof. But it's nice to throw a stinger in there now and again because I still do it sometimes, but it ain't getting through. I mean, it's funny for us to hear that, and I appreciate that. But it's not getting through where it needs to get through. All right, in the news, the big news yesterday was, of course, Donald Trump's hush money trial started on Monday. This is the first time a former president has ever been tried on criminal charges. And we know what the charges were about. And yesterday was the second day. Now, Trump is represented by Todd Blanche uh, and Susan Nischels, two experienced New York attorneys handpicked by the former president for this particular case. Now, Blanche left a career at Cadwalader, Wickersham, and Taft to start a firm and represent Trump, while Nischels has experience representing the Trump organization in the past, according to the Washington Post. Across from Trump's team are Susan Hoffinger and Joshua Steinglass, chosen by the Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg to lead the prosecution. Now, Steinglass has experience prosecuting high-profile murder cases and will question witnesses and give closing arguments. Trump's former attorney, Michael Cohen, who served jail time on campaign finance charges related to his role in facilitating the payments, and is expected to testify with Judge Juan Marchand presiding. It's going to be interesting. Actually, the lawyers on Donald Trump's side, at least the one, is a decent lawyer, or has been, Todd Blanche. But it's funny because he does and says some stupid shit in spite of his reputation, in spite of his history. It goes along with what I've said before. Lawyers that represent Donald Trump have all kinds of trouble. There's the law, and then there's Donald Trump's law. And Donald Trump forces these lawyers to follow Donald Trump's law or ideology, and it's completely wrong and it's completely illegal. Why a lawyer would agree to do that, other than for money, I don't know. But it makes you look twice at lawyers, doesn't it? You know you might be ruining your career, but you still do it. So what is the motivation? Don't really fucking know. Now, conservatives were kind of freaking out on Monday after Donald Trump raged that it looks like Judge Juan Marchand, who's overseeing the former president's criminal hush money trial, will not let me go to the high school graduation ceremony of son Barron Trump. But that's not exactly what Marchand said. We talked about this yesterday. Marchand actually said it may be possible for Trump to attend the May 17th celebration, but he'd have to see how the trial develops. And, that makes sense. Where are they going to be? What stage are they going to be? And it's not surprising, I mean, if they're right in the thick of things and things are going on, what takes precedence? Well, the trial would take precedence. We're talking about Donald Trump's innocence or guilt, the possibility of Donald Trump going to jail. I think that's kind of important. Yeah, it would be nice to go to a graduation for your son. But as my wife pointed out, and I mentioned this yesterday, this can't be the first time that Donald Trump disappointed Barron, Melania, Don Jr., Eric, any of those motherfuckers. He is an utter disappointment. So this has to be commonplace for Donald Trump. He's just looking for an excuse to get out. He wants to exercise some control. And that's a problem with this guy. This guy's been so entitled for so long, he thinks he can just ask and they'll let him do it. But here's the problem. He's asking a guy that he's been berating and besmirching for like 6 months. You really think this guy, that's how stupid Donald Trump is. He thinks he can call this guy out and say horrible things about him, and then this guy is going to do him a favor. It's fucking crazy. And Donald Trump, in his mind, he's probably thinking, well, I'll just call him out and he'll get all kinds of negative publicity because that's really all that Donald Trump understands. And I don't think the judge gives a fuck about the publicity. So he didn't say no, but Trump nevertheless spun it into an attack on what he called the scam proceedings against him as he first fumed outside the courthouse. Pure evil, Trump's eldest son, Don Jr., wrote on X. I got to wonder, did Donnie Trump go to Donald Trump Jr.'s graduation from college, from high school? Did Donald Trump Jr. graduate from college or high school? I don't even fucking know. Now, Trump's other son, Eric, meanwhile, slammed Mershon's as truly heartless in not letting a father attend his son's graduation. Yeah, we're supposed to think that this guy is so wrapped up in his family when he was having an affair with Karen McDougal and and Stormy Daniels while Melania was pregnant. Yeah, he's a sensitive guy. To clarify, Mershon did not rule on Trump's request to postpone the trial so that he could mark his son's educational milestone. It really depends on how we're doing on time and where we are in the trial, Marchand told the court. If the trial proceeds as planned, he's willing to adjourn for the day. So he didn't say no. He didn't say yes, and that wasn't good enough for Don. And Dirty Diaper Donnie saw this as an opportunity to make some more fucking noise. So Don may be able to go to the graduation. The interesting thing will be, will he actually go if he gets the day off? What kind of mental and physical shape will he be in May after going through some harsh shit every day up until that time? Remember, he's only 2 days in and he's not looking good. He's not behaving well. He does have the day off today. There is no court in session today, but he's back at it Thursday and Friday. So we'll see how this develops. What Marchand should have said is, we'll wait and see what kind of physical and mental health you're in. You may not even be in the courtroom because you're in a hospital or keeled over on the courthouse bathroom. Now, Donald Trump's not only potentially missing his son's graduation, but this one's going to get to him. This is probably far more important to him. Donald Trump will have to miss a major Republican fundraiser because of his New York City's hush money trial. Yeah, Marchand's not giving him that day off, nor should he. Trump received an invitation to headline the majority gala, the National Republican Campaign Committee's biggest fundraiser this season, on April 23rd. Now, three sources told the Daily Beast said GOP bigwigs hoped Trump would headline the Dallas event for House Republicans, but he was unable to appear because has been ordered to appear in the Manhattan criminal court that day. Now, it probably doesn't matter because the fundraising's not going that well to date. But this is the kind of things that Donald Trump is going to run into. And this is why I've said, how does a guy win if he can't campaign? He can't show up at campaign events like this, big ones. And this is a big one for two reasons. Well, one reason for sure. And that one reason is that Donald Trump can't afford to do rallies anymore. And this one he doesn't have to pay for. He just has to show up, talk his shit to the crowd, and hopefully gain some momentum. But that momentum is getting stifled because that goddamn judge won't let him take a break from a criminal trial. How many other people do you think get to take a break from a criminal trial? You're a criminal, for fuck's sake. Why are you getting any favors? So, in lieu of Donald Trump, Representative Tim Scott of South Carolina will headline the gala, which will charge $50,000 for a photo opportunity with him, according to the invitation. 50,000 bucks to get a picture, get a picture with Tim Scott. Now, will the women have to agree to say that she's dating Tim Scott? That should take a little off the 50,000. Who's going to pay $50,000 to take a picture with Tim Scott? Now, the fact that Trump was forced to decline the fundraiser appearance, which is kind of an obligation party leaders routinely fulfill, represents the latest example of how his criminal trial is upending his campaign and his political life. And it is. And that's what I've said all along. This court case is going to go 2 months or thereabouts, 6 weeks to 8 weeks. And all along that time, he's not really going to be able to campaign that much because wherever he goes, he better be back at 8 in the morning the next fucking day because he's going to have to campaign or he could be in court. Now, what's interesting about this is that while he's being stifled, Joe Biden's out there. He's got plenty of money. He's campaigning all over the place, and he's making fun of Donald Trump in the process. He made a mention of Donald Trump's financial woes, and those woes are significant. You know, he's got the Truth Social IPO, and all the Trump-levucks were coming to me. Oh, this will save him. He'll make $5 billion. Well, last report when I saw this, the highest point that that stock was trading was like 75 or $79 per share. You know what it was at the close of day yesterday? I think it was $23. Well, that's a shitload of money to be lost, not only for Donald Trump, but for all those dumb fucks that actually invested in it. I think this is hilarious. I don't see the Trump-lefucks coming to my page trying to laugh at me because Donald Trump outwitted us again. And he's going to have $5 billion and the world will be right and Donald Trump will get off of everything. I told you these Trump-lefucks are not bright people. So apparently that's not going to work. And why? Well, because Donald Trump is a habitual failure. Everything he does is a fucking failure. Now, with Trump in court on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, with only Wednesday and weekends off, normal campaigning will be extremely difficult, obviously, until the trial's over. But of course, he wants to make it longer, which makes no sense. Trump campaign spokeswoman Caroline Levitt echoed his sentiment in a statement to the Daily Beast, saying, Joe Biden and the Democrats' entire strategy to defeat President Trump is to confine him to court. Well, cool story, bro. But the fact of the matter is that Joe Biden has nothing to do with a state court case. He's federal. Now, you know, if this were the documents case or the Jan 6 case in D.C., it's still bullshit. It's still stupid because Joe Biden's kind of hands off when it comes to the DOJ. But he doesn't have any say in the state issue. You can make it sound like he does, but he doesn't. Fact is, read the fucking Constitution. He doesn't have any say. All right, well, as I said, Donald Trump was in court yesterday and he got his backside spanked. Thankfully, he had a diaper with extra padding, meaning a load of shit in said diaper. But Judge Juan Marchand was not really having it. In fact, some people are saying that Trump touched the third rail during his hush money trial as prosecutors executed a powerful courtroom chess move. Now, um, you want to make sure that the verdict is not influenced by anything other than the evidence in the facts of the case. So you saw Donald Trump, as they say, touch the third rail. I think that's reference to, and I live in Minnesota, so I'm pretty sure I know what that means. It's reference to the subways. There's three rails, and that third rail is where the electric comes in, and that'll fuck you up if you touch it. And he may have just fucked himself up in the process. Now, what Donald Trump did and what got him in trouble was that they were talking to the jurors. Donald Trump started getting frustrated. He started sighing. He started mumbling under his breath. He started making faces and all that stuff. And Judge Juan Marchand wasn't feeling it. You know, it's one thing if you rip the judge or the lawyers or the prosecutors or the DA. They don't like it, but they're going to let you get away with it. Where Judge Juan Marchand and any other judge worth his salt is going to draw the line, it's with the jury. Because if it looks like you're starting to try to intimidate the jury, that means this court case could end up being a fucking circus. So Juan Marchand isn't going to tolerate that shit. Just not going to tolerate it. And he told Donnie Trump that in no uncertain terms. He said, there'll be ramifications from you doing this, so you better stop that shit. Now, the question is, can he? I don't think so. Now, Marchand will likely continue to monitor Trump's behavior closely and respond swiftly and sternly should he touch the third rail again. You'll see that over and over again. Trump can make comments about the judge, about the court, about the DA, but you do anything involving the jurors, you're going to see some very quick actions. A former prosecutor, Agnafilo, said Trump's bombast stood in stark opposition to what she described as Assistant District Attorney Josh Steinglass' subtle gamesmanship during the jury selection. Former prosecutor then explained a quirk of jury selection rules that allows the defense and prosecutors to request an unlimited number of jurors to be excused for a specific reason, but limits each side to 10 preemptory removals or removals lawyers can request without a reason. You don't want to waste your preemptory choices, which she explained is why the prosecutor here did something very interesting. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office didn't challenge the first 12 jurors, ultimately landing the defense with 12 difficult decisions. That's a chess move on their part because it forces the defense. They only have 10 challenges. If they don't like those jurors and they don't get any focus or any cause for challenges, you could have 2 jurors right there. So what they're basically saying, they've got 500 people to talk to. They may not talk to all of them if they get the 18 jurors they want. But you got to be real careful who you kick out in your preemptory choices because you may get further down the line and there's somebody you definitely don't want, but you're out of your preemptory choices or decisions. So then you're fucked with that guy. And of course, your opponent, in this case, uh, the uh, the attorney's office, will know that, and then they'll start shoving shit down their throat. And so it was kind of cagey on the side of um, the prosecutors. They know what's going on, and let's be honest. In spite of the fact that Donald Trump has at least one decent lawyer, he's being guided by um, he's being guided by Donald Trump, and Donald Trump doesn't know shit about shit. So they're going to be in trouble over and above the fact that Donald Trump is absolutely fucking guilty and there's evidence and documents that prove it. You get lawyers that don't know what they're doing or are forced to answer to Donald Trump and do what he thinks is best. Game over, man. He's fucking in trouble. And so it's going to be really interesting to see how this develops over and above what Donald Trump might do, over and above the evidence and the witnesses. They're just going to fuck up. They're going to fuck up. And that's going to add to their problems coming through this election. Now, this is something I've said all along, and I'm now getting validated here by Mary Trump, who's a psychologist and also Donald Trump's niece. We've always been interested to hear what she says because she is a psychologist and she knows Donald Trump pretty well. She's known him for fucking years and has had to dealt with him. But Mary Trump shredded her uncle in a new email blast analyzing exactly what she believes the criminal hush money trial um, and where is the biggest problem for him. It's not legally, it's emotionally. And this is what I've said. We're dealing with a narcissist. You can tell him he's may go to jail or lose all his money, but narcissists don't like to be embarrassed and they like to be in full control of everything so they can balance out their lies and cover up for different things. And as I've said before, Donald Trump is getting to the point right now that he's got too many balls in the air. He wants to control everything, but he can't. He's being overwhelmed. So Mary Trump said, no doubt Donald feels as though he's being singled out for extraordinary punishment. But that's because he has so rarely been in a situation which he has no control over either the narrative or the proceedings. She wrote, this is a criminal trial. He will have virtually no say about anything that happens inside that courtroom, and indeed over anything that happens to him if he steps outside the lines that Judge Marchand draws up for him. The key takeaway, she said, is that Donald doesn't handle it well when he feels like the walls are closing in on him. He freaks out and acts out when he feels thwarted because he so rarely ever has been. We're looking at a very old and fairly complex psychology that goes back to his childhood. The crow's finally coming home to roost when he's in his late 70s is something that's not going to be able to, that he's not going to be able to manage. Now, already Trump was put in a uniquely awkward and humiliating spot on the second day of trial when he was forced to listen and watch an endless stream of social media content critical of him as part of the jury selection process. So these people are being questioned about being in the jury, and they're going to look at their social media posts and what they might have said. And if they said something negative about Donald Trump, it may come out in the courtroom to try to exclude a potential juror that might hate Donald Trump. It's going to be hard not to find somebody that doesn't hate Donald Trump and is not just a shill and not just a Trumplifier. But can you imagine if they went through my social media and I was a juror? Yeah, what did you mean when you said he was a dirty diaper dumb fuck? Well, yeah, I can be fair about this. Put me in there. And Trump went on to, or Mary Trump went on to say, and that's as nothing compared to the total lack of control he'll feel as the facts are laid out in the case that could land him with a criminal conviction. And that's the point. This is very embarrassing to him. As I've said before, these are salacious crimes that he's committed. Well, not the crimes that are salacious. He committed salacious acts and he used or committed crimes to cover up the payment for those. That's where the law comes into play, what he did to cover things up. But in order to get to that point, they're going to have to talk about him having an affair with Stormy Daniels or Karen McDougal. Now, Donald Trump, his defense is going to be, well, I wasn't worried about voters, but I just didn't want Melania to find out. You think Melania didn't know? He's a dumb fuck. He doesn't care what Melania thinks. Anyway, Mary Trump goes on to say, we're going to be seeing Donald Trump in a unique context for which he is totally unprepared. At a rally or a press conference, he controls the room. He is determining the narrative, and any gaps or ramblings can be put down to the fact that he's riffing or being extemporaneous or doing improv. Can't do that in court. So that's one of the issues about Donald Trump being in court. He's like a fish out of water. He's not used to not being in charge. He's not used to um, not being in control. And he's neither of those things in this particular situation. So it's it's going to be interesting to see how he handles it. He is a very emotional guy, and he does act out. He doesn't think. And, this is something I've talked to you about before. One of the things I've taught myself in my long 64 years of life is to not be so emotional about some things. And I'm not saying I'm not emotional. I do have emotions about some things, granddaughter, my family, and all that stuff. But when we're talking about the news, I'm not going to get hyped up. I'm not going to get fearful. I'm not going to get emotional about it, because when you do that, you make mistakes. Well, Donald Trump is one big bundle of emotions. And as Mary Trump pointed out, he's never experienced this before. He has no idea what he's in for. None. Absolutely none. And he's not going to know how to react. So he's just going to react irrationally, because that's all he's got. That's all he's ever had. So it's going to be interesting to see how long he can sit in that court hearing bad shit about him over and over again without being able to fight back or punch back, because he can't. If he does, he's going to be in a world of motherfucking trouble. We've gone through 2 days of Donald Trump's criminal trial. It's on. All those people say that it would never happen or that he'll never be convicted. Get ready, because you're going to be proven wrong. You're going to be fucking proven wrong. He's in court. He's on trial. The jury selection will be over soon, and he's going to have to sit there day after day listening to what a fuckhead he is. And there's going to be evidence, and he's going to not be able to do anything. And that is one of the things I've said before that's going to break him mentally, because this is something he's never experienced before. It's not going to go well. Now, the last thing I wanted to bring up, kind of important, well, interesting anyway, that is the situation with Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House. He is under the fucking gun. Now, it sounds like he's going to put up for a vote the Ukraine funding, maybe the Israel funding, and it will pass. It will pass without question, and that'll be a big relief for those of us that understand that Ukraine getting rolled over by Russia is not a good thing, not only for Ukraine, but for us and the rest of the world. It's stupid to not help out in that situation given the circumstances. Now, Mike Johnson is going to put these up for a vote, and that's going to piss off MAGA. That's going to piss off Marjorie Taylor Greene. And Marjorie Taylor Greene has already come out with a vote of no confidence, and she's trying to push um, a vote to kick him out. Well, she got a little help yesterday. She got somebody else, another Republican rep. Don't remember his name because he's nobody and nobody fucking cares. But she got a co-sponsor. And so it looks like they may actually mount a vote on whether they should kick out Mike Johnson or not. Now, one of the problems they're going to experience is there's many Republicans of a relative reasonable mind that don't think this is a good idea. This creates unnecessary chaos and basically puts the Republicans in a position not to do anything. Now, in normal circumstances, the Democrats would not help out Mike Johnson. They didn't help out Kevin McCarthy. They're not going to help out Mike Johnson. But this might be a different situation. Mainly because if we don't have a Speaker of the House, absolutely nothing can get done. And then the Republicans, well, they would still get the blame, but they'd have more of an excuse for not passing the Ukraine funding. And we're kind of at the deadline here. We need to get them some money so they can continue to fight and push back the Republicans. Russian. Oh, there's there's a good comparison. Anyway, so what I presume happened is, and I don't know this for sure, but it makes some sense. The Democrats went to him and say, look, you got 6 months left in this session. You're not going to do anything anyway. Here's what we'll do. We'll save your ass in the vote so you don't get kicked out as Speaker of the House, but you've got to put up, all you have to do is put it up for a vote, the Ukraine funding situation, because it will pass. So I'm sure he cut a deal, and I'm sure he's not worried now because he's got at least a promise from the Democrats that they will vote for him and he won't get kicked out. This is politics. If there's an option where they can come out of this by voting Hakeem Jeffries as Speaker of the House, don't make the mistake that the Democrats won't step on the necks of the Republicans, including Mike Johnson. But this is going to be interesting. We have so many problems, so many issues out there. And once again, the Republicans will take up the time and space and oxygen by fighting amongst themselves. And you know what? I'm all for that because as long as they're fighting amongst themselves, that makes it that much tougher to win anything in November. At this point, I firmly believe that Donald Trump can't win a presidential election, and anybody else they might put up, they can't win either. What I'm really more concerned about is the down ballot, the reps, and the Senate, and even the legislatures in the various states. But the less help and the more problems the down ballot people have, the better chance we are to be able to take full control of the Senate and the House. And that's the next step. Because if we have a president with a Republican in either of the houses, we still have the same problem we have now. So we've got to make it a clean sweep, and we've got to make sure the Democrats have control and good control in the House, not one or two people, 20 or 30 people. And we've got to hopefully expand our margin in the Senate. Now, Eric and a lot of people said, the math doesn't work out. I get that. I get that. And I like to look at the glass half full a lot. And I understand that too. But as I told Eric, that may be true based on history, based on what we've seen in the past, the math thing, right? But we are in a time that we've never seen in history. I think we're going to see some amazing things in that election. I think people are going to be surprised. Republicans will be the ones mostly surprised, and they will be sorely disappointed. Now, again, this is just speculation on my part. I'm going on what I know and making an analysis based on what I know. We still have to wait till November to see what happens. But Mike Johnson is still going to try to save his soul and make it to November, I'm sure. And he's going to have to deal with the Democrats to do it. It's going to piss off MAGA, but the Democrats will end up saving him just to keep some semblance of normalcy in the House of Representatives between now and November. Because if they kick him out, I don't know who they're going to replace him with. And if they can't find somebody to replace him with, the House of Representatives can do nothing without a Speaker of the House, whether that speaker be good or bad. You can't do anything. So if something comes up, something needs to happen right away, we need a Speaker of the House. So it would make sense with such little time left that the Democrats keep Mike Johnson in power. And I say that in quotes because he really doesn't have much power at this point. He hasn't accomplished anything. Anyway, we are going to wrap up the Rational Boomer podcast. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to the podcast today. I hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you soon.